Hello there everybody, Jordan back again with another review, and this is going to be a little bit of a retro review today, and we do have The Hills of Eyes from 2006, and this is directed by Alexandre Aja and stars Aaron Stanford, Dan Baird and Emile de Raven. When a family on a road trip take a wrong turn, they are terrorized by a bunch of mutants living in the outback. Okay guys, just before I get into it, this movie is about 20 years old now, so I am going to get into spoilers and all the favourite parts of the movie that I want to talk about. So just a little bit of a heads up there. Now I remember my past with horror movies where I kind of fell out of love with the new ones coming out. It was around the early 2000s and I kind of took a break from horror and movies in general. That is the only time in my life where I've kind of not cared for too many new releases. I was watching all the older stuff really. And then someone said to me, you need to watch The Hills of Eyes. And I did, and I was blown away by how brutal the movie was, how engaged I was, how much I loved this remake. It felt like my love for horror had just come burning back there, and I just remembered it being down to this film. And there's a lot of great stuff going on here. It's a remake that for me is personally better than the original Hills of Eyes, and that's when I really thought, wow, all these remakes we're getting, I need to check out because they can work. And if this one is better than the original, then maybe I want more of them. So let's get into it. Now, I love a lot of horror movies that just take place in the outback, especially outbacks with sort of summer themes going on, or they feel like they're very hot and uncomfortable. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a perfect example. We got the movie X that came out a few years ago. And this is another one where these characters who are basically stuck in this outback with nowhere to go feel very isolated. And it feels like a very dangerous place where people who murder people or sort of kidnap people or whatever, or do horrific crimes, can get away with things because there's that much vast space that they can just sort of dig bodies anywhere. They can kill people and no one can see it. You know, I feel like there's probably a lot of people in the outbacks of different countries who are criminals kind of hiding out there who just can't be caught. And that's what this movie kind of feels like in the build up to the sort of middle act where the movie all kicks off. But it even gives one of my sort of least favorite horror traits where there is no signal on your phone a pass, because characters in this film can't get a signal on their phone, but you can fully understand why. Now, usually in these films, we have a bunch of characters who are all friends and everything, and they're just killed off one by one. This movie is a little bit more interesting because there's a family dynamic going on here. This is a family of sort of like 8 or 9 characters who are basically going on this road trip. So blood is thicker than water, and you feel like these family members really do all care for each other. Of course they do. They're a very tight-knit, close family. And it just gives a little bit more of raising the stakes there when shit does go down. Because as a viewer and a family man now, watching this again on repeat or rewatch, should I say, it just made me care about the characters even more, because I would hate for something to happen to my family, especially something like that goes on in this movie, which I'm going to get into in a second. But I just think it gives a bit more emotional weight to the characters in this film. Slasher movies, which I would say this remake kind of is, can sometimes die with their characters. Not die with them, but they're usually a negative. What reviewers say is the characters, because they're just cannon fodder. But I don't think that this is the case here. The movie does sort of take a while to get going, but it's letting us get to know this family and how they all sort of interact with each other and how much they care for each other and stuff. So I think the long wait and the slow build up that we get before the movie sort of kicks in is actually warranted and absolutely works for the film. But once that middle scene hits, I mean, it's one of the most brutal things I think I've ever seen in a horror film. I remember watching this back when I got told to watch it in late 2000s. I remember watching it just going, what the fuck is going on here? Where these characters are kind of tricked into running out of this motorhome they've got, and these mutants who've been watching them for a long time in the hills run in and sort of sexually force themselves on some of the women here. They there's a baby involved that's got to watch the whole thing, who is just the most innocent, cute little baby, who's got to look at these mutants terrorizing her new family and everything. People are just shot at close range in the head. I mean, it just absolutely explodes. And I know movies do that, but I can't think of too many off the top of my head that have such a long, prolonged first hour and then just explode like this with the brutalness, the blood, the violence, the emotional attachment, like I said, because you're caring for these characters and you're seeing a few of them just be wiped out in seconds there together. It doesn't take its time by killing one person as we build up to this. It just all goes off in this absolutely vicious scene, really. And these mutants are horrifying. It's a very upsetting scene. It really is. And I was just thinking, wow, this is just like the stuff of nightmares. One of the most brutal and shocking scenes. And I've seen a lot of horror, guys. I've seen some of the most shocking horror movies you can ever see. And I know this is a bit more of a mainstream film, but to me, the first time watching this was one of the most shocking movie moments or scenes I'd ever seen. But I gotta say, from minute one, you know what you're in for with this movie. It lets you know how brutal it's going to be when you see a couple of characters pickaxed in the head in the first minute of this movie, tied to a car and sort of dragged along the dirty outback roads there. It basically says, horror's back, baby. Because I do think there was a little bit of a lull there, you know, just in the 90s mainly. I mean, there's some good horror in the 90s. I do think it's one of the weakest decades for horror, though. The 2000s kind of picked it back up there a little bit, but movie definitely lets you know what you're in for, and there's so many brutal scenes along the way. There is a scene that is kind of reminds me of Scanners a little bit, where this guy's head is just blown to bits, and it's the practical effects and everything is just like, holy shit. So yeah, this movie absolutely goes for it in the gore department. If you're a gore hound and you like a lot of blood and vicious kills, look no further than this film. But I watched a video on this movie, and that's what made me really want to watch the film. My buddy Andy and Nige, they were doing a sort of top 10 2000s horror movies. And Nige went on to say that it felt like the movies were getting away more because all of the banned films were coming back around 1999. And these films that were made after that were sort of getting away with the blood and the violence, and the BBFC and the MPA were just passing these movies going, oh yeah, it's fine, it's fine. And that's a really great point, because that's when it really did feel like the brutality in these horror films were coming back with movies like the Hills of Eyes remake. I gotta say, the mutants in this film look really great as well. There's some really awesome makeup design where heads are kind of sort of disjointed, you know, we got eyes that are bigger than the other eye, you know, just messed up skin and everything. Some of them can't even talk, they just sort of mumble and stuff. I mean, they are very well designed villains in this movie, really. And it's always cool to look at how grotesque that they are. A very big hint that inbred sort of stuff is going on here as well. But yeah, I love the design of some of these mutants and everything like that. I think that the makeup design and the practical effects to make them look like this is brilliant. Honestly, when I first watched this, you know that little guy, he's the most vicious one of them all. I really do hate him as a character. I just couldn't wait for him to die. He really reminded me of Howard from The Big Bang Theory if he was a mutant. I really thought it was the same actor back then playing this guy. So yeah, I was shocked to find out that it wasn't him. But I really like in the third act, as the movie goes on this revenge mission, you've got Doug, who is a little bit of an arsehole in this movie, but you can sort of see his point a little bit. The father doesn't really like him, but he's trying his best, and he's got a newborn baby there, so he just wants to be accepted into this family. But he's kind of a little bit of a rebel as well, just smoking in the motorhome and everything when he shouldn't be. But there's a great character arc for him, because us as a viewer learn to really accept him. Not just as a viewer, but you can see him being accepted into this family because of the sort of bravery he goes through. But any father would do the same. I imagine I would. These mutants have took this baby that was in the motorhome and kidnapped her, basically, and he's got to go and infiltrate where all these mutants live, and get his baby back. And it's a really awesome third act, seeing some of these mutants being taken out by Doug and everything. And he's got his little dog with him and stuff like that. But I like how the tables turn in this movie, where in that middle act there, we had these mutants sort of going for this family, and now it's him coming for them. It's a good little switcheroo, I think. But you really do champion Doug. You just want him to get that baby back, and you're just like, go and kick some ass, man. However, there are some horror tropes in this movie that I don't like, especially one that Doug does towards the end. I mean, he's got his baby back and everything. He just needs to take one of these guys out, that little guy who looks like Howard on The Big Bang Theory. And he shoots him once or twice with the shotgun and drops the shotgun right next to him. Walks away, Howard gets up with the shotgun. I mean, we need to stop these horror traits. I get that it's 20 years ago, but come on, man. That is just one of the most baffling character decisions ever. And you would make sure that guy is dead if he took your baby. I don't care. And the fact that he just dropped the gun by him made me just roll my eyes. You've just gone on a great character arc there, man. But you lost me. There is a little bit of a whole political angle that this movie is trying to go for as well. At the start of this film, where we see lots of sort of nuclear weapons being used, this is saying this is what happens when governments and stuff do bad things. People will do bad things in retaliation. I mean, I think that's what it's saying. I didn't quite get the whole political message, what the script was going for there. And honestly, I think they could have just left it out, because I don't think they fully explore it anyway. It just felt like it was tacked on to say, let's put some social commentary in there. However, guys, like I said, this is one of the most brutal, amazing remakes out there. It's probably in my top 5 horror remakes I think I've ever seen. It betters the original in every way. The original isn't bad. It's very dated now. I would definitely rather watch The Hills Have Eyes remake over that one any day of the week. It's a solid film. Alexandre Aja, who is coming off the back of High Tension and everything, delivers another great movie here. He's a decent filmmaker. Definitely check out some of his stuff if you haven't. But this is a great time. I had such a fun time going back and rewatching this one. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now, guys. I'm going to give The Hills Have Eyes 2006 an 8 out of 10. Like I said, very solid horror remake. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for The Hills Have Eyes remake is that they had a lot of trouble with the gun scenes being pointed at the baby. Not because they felt like it was horrible or sinister to do, because the baby kept wanting to play with the gun. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. What do you think of The Hills Have Eyes from 2006? Please do let me know in the comments down below. Is there any other remakes you'd like me to review? You know, I'd be happy to do it. Please do let me know. Maybe I'll do a top 10 remakes coming soon. Who knows? Thanks so much, guys. You all take care. If horror is your sort of thing, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It'd really help me out. See you all in the next video.